I am so happy that you're able to join us for this extended interview. Make sure to visit theoffbeatlife.com. Again, that's theoffbeatlife.com to get more killer resources. Thank you so much for joining us for this extended interview with Carol, where she's going to share how to connect with other artists and turn your artistic talents into travel opportunities. Hey, Carol.
Hello, Debbie.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you here and for giving us all of these incredible knowledge.
My pleasure. I love getting this info out there, so thanks for having me.
Well, a lot of artists look at you and you've traveled in so many different places. And one of the biggest reasons why you're able to do that is through artist residencies. So how do you find artist residencies and how are you able to stay in them?
Artist residencies can be a million different things. And some of them are really just expensive vacations that you pay for, and some of them are completely sponsored. So it's a whole range. But what I do is I go to a website called resartis.org. So it's resartis.org. And they're like the Google of art opportunities for travel. And I will pick a country, I'll get a target country in mind, and I'll look for all of the opportunities that are there, and then I'll craft a proposal and send it out. So, for example, I have recently done residencies in Italy and Spain. And so I'll pick that country and then I'll see all the things that are there. And I'll check them out to see how expensive they are or how what they're looking for. And then I send out a whole bunch of applications, see what I get back, and then I'll pick a trip.
How difficult is it to get into a residency?
There is like a sliding scale. So the more expensive something is, the easier it is to get. But those are never what I'm looking for. I'm always looking for a place that is really, it is just a place to go and dig in and do some work. And they are harder to get. And the caliber of artists when you get there is higher. It's usually just working professionals from all kinds of different countries, and they are the cost will either be nothing because they're sponsored, or it'll be a couple $100 a week to cover your food and studio costs. And yeah, those are tougher to get into, but they are, I find, more rewarding once you do.
Do you have some helpful tips on the application process?
Yes, totally. So the full tips I have for this would be the same helpful tips I would have for getting your work into shows. And it is have one message, know what your brand is. And, I think there is a temptation to show people how versatile you are as an artist. But what I find most people are looking for when they're filling spots is they want to know what they're going to get from you. And they want to be able to sum it up with one idea. So for me, I'll be showing, I do cityscapes and I do them in this media. If I'm applying for something that is print-based, I do a lot of printmaking work, I will only show that. It's better to show a very limited scope and that you can do it really well than it is to show a big, broad scope, because then for them, they don't know how to identify you, and it's easier for them to pick another artist.
That's also a great way to niche and to show that you're an expert at a subject matter or a medium that you're working on.
Yeah. And the other thing too is really telling them your story. It's the same as selling artwork. People need to engage in your story. So showing them your work isn't enough. You need to tell them your why and get them excited about what you're doing from the same perspective that you're excited about it.
So once you've created all of this incredible artwork that you've done, how do you find opportunities to show work in other cities or countries?
When I decided I wanted to do this full time, I had to figure out where this time was going to come in my life to do these things. So for me, when the rest of the family or the rest of the world is binge watching Netflix, I'm sitting there on my laptop researching. And I will just go in and type in call for artist and then whatever the country is or the city is or the places that I'm going. And I'll find exactly what's happening there. The other thing I'll do is I will look for other artists on Instagram who are sort of at a similar level or doing a similar thing to me. And then I'll go back to their websites and figure out where they're showing and what's happening with them. And then I'll write directly to galleries and I will keep that idea of being on brand, giving them one clear message to sort of fixate on about what I'm doing. And I'll send them off a proposal that way. And I'll just send stuff out until I get the response I want. I forget about the no's and just keep going until I get a yes.
And I'm a big advocate of social media, especially Instagram, and actually not just showing your work, but also networking with people. So this is a really great way for you to really pinpoint the person that you want to talk to and then engage with them and actually create a relationship with them.
Absolutely. And doing that genuinely too, I think, like being really interested in what other people are doing and what is the purpose of a residency? Why are they doing what they're doing? What is the purpose of that gallery? What are they looking to get out there? And that way you can find the groups and the people and the places you're more aligned with. And it makes the whole process so much easier.
So we always hear how artists are starving and there's no work in that now, like we talked about before. It's so much easier for you to create income as an artist because of the digital media and all of the things that you can do online. How do artists cover the cost of travel and as an artist?
Right. So when you are traveling to art residencies, the costs are scaled way down because they're built for artists. They'll take a farmhouse and put 5 artists in, and then they'll take the barns and turn them into studios. And we all live together, eat together. We're all working on our own thing, but it's very communal living. So that keeps the costs down initially. But the way that I do it is when I decide I want to go somewhere and I figure out how much it's going to cost, I'll do a pre-sell of my work. So I'll reach out to my database. I'll tell them, hey, I'm going to Sicily or I'm going to Tuscany or wherever I'm going, and I'll share the vision of the trip with them. Here's the dream, here's what I want to do. And then I'll pre-sell the work that I'm going to do while I'm there to cover the costs. So let's say I figure out a trip is going to cost me $5,000. I'll go out and figure out exactly how much work I need to sell to cover that. I'll try and tell as enticing a story as I can to get people emotionally involved in my trip. And then they will pre-buy what I'm going to do. They get to pick their piece out when I get back. And that way I can head off on the trip knowing, okay, this is paid for. And also that I have a certain amount of work I need to accomplish while I'm there to give to these people when I get home. So that's how I do it. I'm part of this collective that just did a mural painting trip to Sicily. And what we did as a collective was kind of the same thing. We made the plan. Our costs were really low because the residency was free, but we had to get there and we had to feed ourselves. And so we had a group show, a group fundraiser before we went. Same thing. We shared our story. And one of the big things that those actions do is they enroll all of the people who are supporting you in your trip. So now they get to live this trip vicariously while you're doing it. And, they're showing their friends like, look, I'm supporting this artist to do this amazing thing. They're in this place right now. And so they get to enjoy, it's not just the after story. I went on this trip. Here's a painting. Do you want it? It's more, they're completely engaged in your journey. So that for me has been a really fun thing. I've shared that with some artist friends who have also done it successfully. And it just adds a whole nother dimension for you as the artist and for the buyer.
It's a really great way to involve the community in what you're doing. And I feel like art is really about that. You've talked a lot about having a good community around you. What are some of the cool ways that artists gather in different countries?
So one really cool now this is a bit offbeat, but hey, that's the name of your show. So yeah. So there is this thing that happens. I mean, you can do meetups. There'll be meetups in different areas for artists. And if you search for life drawing meetups, that can be a really good way to connect with other artists. So you all go and you draw a model together, and it's a great chance to connect, and that's awesome. But there is this thing called Dr. Sketchy's Anti-Art School. And what they do, they have chapters in cities all over the world. And what they do is they bring in burlesque models, burlesque dancers. And you go and you pay your whatever it is. I think it's $12 or $20 or something. You go and it's usually in some cool bar somewhere. And you sit down in this room full of artists doing like every different kind of art you can imagine. And then a burlesque model dancer comes out. And they do some poses in their costume. It's great, sort of short poses to get warmed up. Halfway through the night, they come out and they do a burletta, which is like a short burlesque performance. And then they do some longer poses for the end of the night. So you're drawing, like you're doing life drawing, but it's animated. They've got the big false lashes on and crazy makeup and these amazing little bits of costumes. And the outcome is so fun. We've got a great chapter here in Vancouver of it, but it's also in cities all over the world. So that's when I go somewhere, I will look and see if there's a Dr. Sketchy's chapter there. So for listeners anywhere, look and see if there's one near you, because they are a really fun place to connect with people. And then the other thing I do is just connect online with my Thrive Mastermind group, because it's, even though we're not all in the same place, it's really nice to have your tribe follow along with you wherever you are.
Can I tell you, I'm really obsessed with burlesque, so I'm going to do that Dr. Sketches one. I'm not even kidding, Carol. I have two friends that whenever we meet, we probably meet once or twice a year, and we meet just to watch burlesque.
Oh, you are going to love it. I've seen so many great performances there. And when you sit down and get to actually draw them, it's like, it's such an honor that they're sitting there still. You are going to love it. And I think you're New York based, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure
there's a lot of them here.
Yeah. You'll love it. So I want to see the drawings too.
Yeah. I've never even heard of this. This is so much fun. I definitely want to do this. Thanks for that tip. After we talk, I'm going to go.
Right on.
I'm going to go right now.
Quick.
It's like if the podcast ended a little too soon, it was because of that tip and I had to leave.
The tongue for the mic drop.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Carol. So if our listeners want to know more about you, where can they find you?
They can find all the info about my art and about the art workshops on carolmcquaidart.com or any social media platform, Carol McQuaid Art, and it's CarolMcQuaid art. And if they want to listen to the podcast, which I hope they do, it's Two Artists Walk Into a Bar on any of the podcast platforms. The website is twoartistswalkintoabar.com. And on social media, it is the number 2 Artists Podcast. And lots of great examples of people living fun lives on the podcast. So yeah, have a listen.
Amazing. I can't wait for all of my listeners to listen to your podcast as well. Thank you so much, Carol, for all of these incredible tips that you just gave us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
I hope you enjoyed this extended interview with Carol. Make sure to visit theoffbeatlife.com. Again, that's theoffbeatlife.com to get the full interview with Carol, where she shares how to turn your artistic talents into travel opportunities. Hey Offbeat family, I really appreciate you listening to this episode. I would love to hear more from you and what you think of the podcast. Suggestions on guests, topics we can discuss, or maybe you just want to be friends. Why don't we chat some more on Facebook at The OB Life, or send me a message at hello@theoffbeatlife.com. I can't wait to hear from you.